My cousin met with an accident while delivering food. The doctor stated that his injuries were severe and that amputation of a leg was necessary. My uncle and aunt, terrified back home, were in a state of utter confusion, repeatedly asking me what to do over the phone. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, I feared that if a decision was not made promptly, the other leg would also be at risk. Thus, I suggested we heed the doctor's advice and proceed with the amputation. I even signed on their behalf. As a result, I became labeled as the perpetrator in their eyes. They accused me of harboring jealousy towards my cousin's greater earnings, claiming that my envy drove me to ruin his leg on the day of the wedding. My cousin pushed me out of the hotel window, killing my fiancée in the process. It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have lost a leg. You should all perish. Upon opening my eyes, I found myself back on the day of my cousin's accident. The narrative begins here. If you find it appealing, please ensure to like and follow so you won't miss out on even better stories. My uncle and aunt's cries were intermittent, nearly leading them to faint. Xiangnan, your cousin has met with an accident and is on the way to the hospital. You must take leave from work and rush there. The doctor has stated that his injuries are grave, and one leg is likely beyond saving. Hurry. Xiangnan, are you listening to me? A wave of memories from my past life crashed into my mind. The excruciating pain I felt before my death seemed not to have dissipated, and my breathing quickened, accompanied by a cold sweat. Xiangnan? Xiangnan? Speak to me. You have only one younger brother, Xiangbei. Which is more important, your work or your brother? If something were to happen to him, I would hold you accountable. I took a deep breath. Did I ask uncle and aunt? What happened to Xiangbei? I am on a business trip out of town. I won't be able to return in time. What did you say? The signal on the train is poor. Can you repeat that? Hello. I hung up the phone and quickly switched my device to flight mode. Then, I booked a train ticket to the neighboring province online, requested leave from my company, and immediately boarded the train. In my previous life, my cousin dropped out of school in his second year of high school to deliver takeout. He claimed that university graduates were not worth much. His salary after graduation was even less than what he earned from food delivery. I tried to persuade him, emphasizing the importance of a diploma, but he would not listen, nor would uncle and aunt. As expected, he earned over 7,000 in his first month of delivery, and in the second month, it even reached 12,000. That time, I had just graduated from university and had managed to secure a job that paid less than 5,000. From then on, my cousin Xiangbei and I became the embodiment of studying is inferior to delivering food in their eyes. What they did not know was that 3 years had passed. I had changed jobs 3 times, with each salary surpassing the last. Now, my monthly income had risen to 30,000. In contrast, my cousin, due to the intense demands of his job, sometimes experienced knee effusions 3 times in a month and walked with a limp. On one occasion, he was involved in a severe accident after running a red light and colliding with a large truck. In my previous life, upon receiving a call from my uncle and aunt, I hurried over without delay. The physician informed me that the injuries were grave, necessitating amputation, and a swift decision was imperative, otherwise, the other leg was likely to succumb as well. My uncle and aunt, in a state of despair on the other end of the line, hesitated to reach a conclusion. My cousin, in tears, insisted on conservative treatment. The doctor, pressing for urgency, urged me to persuade them to heed his counsel. Eventually, my uncle and aunt, unable to procrastinate any longer, consented to the amputation. However, as they were unable to arrive in time, they implored me to sign on their behalf. Little did I know that when my cousin awoke to discover his right leg was gone, he erupted in fury, demolishing everything in the hospital room. He berated me, accusing me of wishing him ill, of being the architect of his ruin. By that time, my uncle and aunt had arrived, yet they remained silent, leaving me to shoulder the entire burden. Subsequently, they claimed that there was no one to tend to the chickens and ducks back home, and insisted on placing my cousin in my newly purchased residence, requesting my assistance in his care. From that moment on, my cousin became an unwelcome fixture, asserting that I was responsible for him. On the day of my wedding, he even pushed me from the window of the 25th floor, showing no mercy to my fiancée either. Xiangnan, how can you be so unreliable? It's truly at critical moments that you prove utterly dependable. Hurry and purchase a plane ticket to return. How much could a single ticket possibly cost? Don't be so selfish. What about Xiangbei? We are still en route. The doctor has called over a dozen times, stating that amputation may be necessary. Xiang Nan, your intellect surpasses ours. Please, lend me your wisdom. What shall I do now? As soon as I activated airplane mode, my WeChat flooded with dozens of voice messages from my uncles and aunts, each lasting a full 60 seconds. I managed to listen to the initial few, but the rest remained unheard. My younger cousin also sent me a voice message. Cousin, I've been in an accident. They want to amputate my limb.
Please help me.
You must come quickly. I refrained from responding to any messages. Instead, I consumed a cup of instant noodles aboard the train, after which I contacted my girlfriend, requesting her to take a leave of absence from work and to spend some time in Yunnan. I transferred 30,000 yuan to her as well. In my previous life, she suffered due to my misfortunes on our wedding day. She fell victim to Lin Xiangbei, a pain that lingers in my heart. Darling, be good and go to Yunnan. I will join you later. I remain uncertain about how to handle the situation with Lin Xiangbei. Without my intervention this time, he may very well lose his legs. A gentleman does not position himself beneath a precarious wall. I shall resolve our 2 lifetimes of grievances on my OW, and I end this life. My girlfriend must be cherished and protected. Fortunately, she is obedient. Although surprised by my actions, she agreed to take leave from work and would depart after completing her shift today. Once I had arranged for her well-being, I noticed that Lin Xiangbei had sent me several messages. Cousin, my parents are insisting on amputation. I despise them. I will not agree. I have already kicked the anesthesiologist away if they think I will undergo amputation. They are dreaming. I glanced at the messages and let out a cold laugh. After more than half an hour, I received another message from him.
Cousin, where are you?
Hurry up and come. However, following this message, my phone fell silent. At last, I had arrived in the neighboring province. Before disembarking the train, I sent them a message. Uncle and aunt, how is my cousin doing? My phone had no signal earlier. Oh dear, how serious is it with my cousin? I'm heading back immediately. I didn't even leave the train station before purchasing a return ticket, capturing a few photos of the station's exterior and the platform along the way. On my journey back, my parents called me in a previous life. My uncle and aunt expressed their urgency to return and check on the chickens and ducks, intending to leave my cousin at my home. My parents had advised me that since we are family, it was only right to support my cousin. Eventually, my cousin became overly dependent on me, causing my parents distress. Yet, upon learning that I planned to rent another place for my cousin to move out, they chastised me severely. They scolded me for having studied for so many years without regard for familial bonds. They lamented that if I truly let my cousin move out, how would they face my uncle and aunt, or the villagers? They insisted that I bear the burden of my cousin. It could be said that my own tragedy in a past life with my girlfriend also bore some responsibility for my parents. Xiang Nan, I must say, why aren't you at the hospital right now? Quick, hurry to the hospital. Your cousin has awakened and is causing a commotion. Your uncle and aunt cannot handle it. You must go. I listened to my parents' admonitions with a cold demeanor and then replied, has something significant happened to my cousin? Have you both gone to see him? Oh, are you busy at home? Come now, what could be more important than your cousin? As his uncle and aunt, isn't it rather embarrassing if you don't go? I've already purchased your train tickets. Hurry, gather your things and come at once. In my previous life, they believed it was my duty. Thus, in this life, I resolved to let them experience that sentiment firsthand. I procured tickets for my parents and arranged for 3 colleagues from my company to move into my newly acquired residence. I informed them that the house would be free for them for 2 months, but they must claim to the outside world that they were renting it at a high price for me. I took out my computer and promptly drafted a contract, signing their names and the rental amount. Once all of this was accomplished, I finally felt at ease and drifted into slumber in my chair. I end this life. They wished to reside in my home without charge, expecting me and my girlfriend to serve as their free caretakers. They must be dreaming. Upon my arrival at the hospital, I found not only my uncle and aunt present, but also my parents had already arrived. As I pushed open the door to the room, a teacup came hurtling towards me. I swiftly dodged, causing the teacup to crash onto the floor, shattering into pieces. Get out! All of you, just leave! He shouted, his voice laced with fury. Are you all here to revel in my misfortune? My legs are gone. His anguished cry echoed. I have lost both my legs. I will make you pay for this. Startled, I turned my gaze towards the hospital bed. Indeed, I beheld Lin Xiangbei, his lower body from the thighs down completely absent, now shrouded in bandages. Unlike in my previous life, where he had only lost one leg and the other had been salvaged due to timely medical intervention, this time he had lost both legs. Wasn't it only supposed to be one? Lin Xiangbei glared at me with eyes filled with resentment, as if he wished to devour me whole. Lin Xiangnan. Are you pleased now? Why did you come so late? If you had arrived earlier, I wouldn't have had the strength to kick the anesthetist, delaying my treatment. At the very least, I could have retained one leg. I will kill you, I swear I will. Regrettably, he lay there in impotent rage, unable to act. His 2 legs forever lost. My uncle and aunt stood by, weeping quietly, saying nothing. Meanwhile, my parents, in their obliviousness, took up Lin Xiangbei's words. My mother even slapped my back with a resounding thud. Indeed, Xiangbei, why did you arrive just now? Didn't your aunt urge you to come back sooner? You say that if you were here with your presence guiding him northward, he would not have resorted to kicking the anesthetist. Do you know? The anesthetist had already drawn the needle. With that kick, he inadvertently sent the needle straight into the anesthetist's body. We must wait for another anesthetist to descend from the operating table to attend to him, and this delay has cost us over an hour. Alas, if only you were here, things would not have come to this. As I listened to my mother's incessant lamentations, a chill enveloped my heart. It has always been this way. It is an unchanging pattern. When confronted with outsiders, their immediate reaction is to shift the blame onto me. In my childhood, when my cousin came to our house for dinner and snatched my chicken leg, I reclaimed it only to have my mother scold me for not being considerate of my younger cousin. When he resorted to violence at school, and his parents came to confront us, my parents blamed me for not keeping a watchful eye on him. Even when he expressed that studying was futile and that delivering food offered a better income, they insisted I persuade him otherwise when I failed to do so. They deemed me ineffectual. My cousin's entire life is considered a ruin, and somehow it is deemed my fault. I cannot comprehend why they extend such boundless leniency to outsiders, adopting the guise of benevolent figures, yet consistently place the weight of responsibility upon my shoulders. This was the case in a previous life, and it remains unchanged in this one. I directly opened the images taken in the neighboring province on my phone. I was in the neighboring province at that time. Even if I returned, it would take time. I simply couldn't make it back in time, I explained. Why didn't you book a flight? At this point, what has a few extra dollars? My father chimed in. My expression grew cold. There is only one flight a day from the neighboring province to here. And it's in the evening. Do you think I have the means to fly back? My parents fell silent. The whimpering of my uncle and aunt finally subsided. When the doctor came to check on the situation, he reported that the surgery had been very successful. After a period of hospitalization with proper care, everything would be fine. However, my uncle and aunt were concerned about the medical expenses. After some discussion, they decided to discharge themselves after 2 or 3 days. Yet, where to stay post-discharge posed a dilemma. They had no home in the city, and returning to their hometown was not an option for Lin Xiangbei. Thus, the entire room turned their gaze towards me. I wore a puzzled expression. What is it? My uncle glanced at my father. My father opened his mouth to say something, but then closed it again. My uncle turned to my aunt. She hesitated for a moment before looking at me. Well, Xiangnan, didn't he just purchase a new home? How about letting your brother stay with you for a while? Rest assured, it won't be for long. After your uncle and I return and settle things at home, we'll come over right away. Although my parents said nothing, they regarded me with eyes full of agreement. As if they were certain of my acquiescence, they turned to my cousin and said, Xiangbei, why don't you stay at Xiangnan's house for the time being? With Xiangnan looking after you, we can rest easy. My mother smiled and added, indeed, Xiangnan's girlfriend is also at home. In the future, let her prepare nourishing soups for you every day. Perhaps Xiangbei could take a month's leave. We shall discuss everything once your injuries have healed. Yes. Brothers should support one another, my uncle remarked, casting a reassuring glance my way. Although I had heard similar sentiments in my previous life, hearing my mother reiterate them now felt astonishing, so much so that I couldn't help but chuckle. What are you laughing at, Xiangnan? My mother asked, her brow furrowing in displeasure. My father also looked towards me. Oh, it's nothing. Just recalling something quite amusing, I replied, reluctant to engage in their inquiries. Currently, my colleague is residing in my apartment, so it seems my cousin cannot stay with me. What? 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 Xiangnan? Are you serious? My uncle regarded me with disbelief. You wouldn't be reluctant to let Xiangbei stay, would you? Is that why you're making excuses? I raised my hands in surrender. There's nothing I can do. The company is not performing well and hasn't released salaries. My colleagues are temporarily staying with me until we receive our paychecks. What? You're allowing them to live in your house for free? My mother was even more exasperated, striking me firmly. Xiangnan, that is your marital home. Freshly renovated. How can you just let someone stay without charge? I gazed at her intently. Mom, didn't you and Dad always say that when we are away from home, we should avoid trouble and assist our colleagues? Now that my colleagues are in need, helping them is the least I can do. My mother hesitated for a moment. Well, that doesn't mean you should let them stay for free. I scoffed, not for free, but for Lin Xiangbei? That's a different story. And then my life would be at stake. Xiangnan, perhaps you should ask your colleagues to vacate first? My uncle inquired hesitantly, noticing my silence. My father's eyes lit up. Yes, since they haven't paid anything, just let them leave. Xiangnan, remember, Xiangbei is your own cousin. Blood is thicker than water. If Xiangbei is in trouble, who else but you should take responsibility? Whoever wishes to take responsibility can do so. He has parents and relatives. It is not my place as a cousin to bear the burden alone. In any case, if they expect me to be a fool as I was in my past life, that is out of the question. But I have already signed a contract with my colleagues. If I breach it, I will incur substantial penalties. I turned apologetically towards Lin Xiangbei. If only this had happened a few days earlier, before the contract was signed, we wouldn't be in this predicament. Lin Xiangbei glared at me fiercely. Cousin, just say it. Am I allowed to stay in your house or not? If you still consider me your brother, then you must drive those people away. If you wish to sever ties with me in the future, then you may leave. Take a left turn. From this moment forth, I, Lin Xiangbei, shall dedicate my life to avoiding the doorstep of you, Lin Xiangnan, even if it means begging. Lin Xiangbei's words resonated with an undeniable gravity. His chin raised in a display of haughty defiance, as if I were the one who had wronged the impoverished youth. Even my uncle and aunt regarded him with a sense of pride. My parents exchanged frequent glances, urging me to acquiesce. Such admirable resolve. I couldn't help but chuckle. Xiangbei, you speak as if you know my heart is filled with resentment, but this is all my cousin's fault. It seemed Lin Xiangbei anticipated my capitulation, casting a disdainful glance my way, ready to retort. I continued, however, since you have expressed this, I understand that you likely do not wish to see me at the moment. Should I take my leave? My words momentarily stunned Lin Xiangbei. He had not expected me to utter such a thing. After all, I had always unconditionally taken the blame for him since we were children, never keeping score with my cousin. Oh, dear, what are you saying, you foolish child? My mother, caught off guard, paused before giving me a firm pat. I wore a helpless expression. Mom, what else do you suggest I do? My apartment has already been rented out, and it is unrealistic for me to pay a hefty penalty to allow Xiangbei to live there. Furthermore, Xiangbei has parents. It is not my place to arrange his living situation. My words rendered the room silent. Had my apartment not been rented, I would have felt too guilty to charge him rent if he moved in with me. Accepting rent would only lead others to think I was disregarding our brotherly bond. Neither my parents nor my uncles and aunts would approve of such an arrangement. However, now my apartment is occupied. Whether he returns home or finds a new place to rent should not be my financial burden. Oh dear, what shall we do about Xiangbei? My heavens! My aunt's sudden wail echoed through the hospital room. I received a call. Mom, Dad, Uncle, Aunt, my boss is looking for me. I must attend to this matter first. I added, please let me know once you are settled. I will bring a box of milk over. With that, I shook my phone and exited the hospital room. Hey, Xiangnan, don't leave. Leave me be. All of you, just go. Behind me, my mother's voice intertwined with the sound of a cup shattering on the floor. Having just stepped out of the office, I noticed that my parents had called me over 30 times. A glance at WeChat revealed an uninterrupted series of voice messages lasting 60 seconds. I hadn't even listened to them yet. Just as I was about to return a call, another from my mother came through. "Xiangnan, where are you? We are at your doorstep. Hurry back and let us in." She followed up with a video. To my astonishment, they were carrying Lin Xiangbei outside my new home, a throng of people furiously knocking on my door. "Xiangbei. I've called a locksmith. He insists on seeing the property deed before he unlock the door. Quickly send the deed." I never anticipated my parents and relatives would act so fervently. Even after I informed them that I had rented the place out, they still carried Lin Xiangbei to my doorstep. "Mom, are you truly my mother? I've already stated that I've rented out the house. What do you mean by this? Are you bringing Lin Xiangbei to impose upon me?" At that moment, I no longer cared about maintaining decorum. I shouted at my mother, demanding answers. She was momentarily stunned, then exclaimed, "Lin Xiangnan. What on earth are you saying? Right now, it is your brother who is injured. Are you really going to turn a blind eye as the elder brother? Do you have no conscience left? How have I raised you since childhood? You must protect your brother, you should." A dark cloud enveloped my thoughts, and I found the absurdity of this world overwhelming. Yes, you taught me to care for my brother, so does that mean I should bear the blame? Throughout my life. Have you any idea how much injustice I have endured? Is it simply because I am the cousin? Therefore, all of this is my burden to bear? Lin Xiangbei has his parents now. At the very least, he still has you and Dad as loving relatives. What am I to him? Why should I take responsibility for him? Why should his life be my obligation? You all need to leave me be right now, or I will call the police. I imagined my mother on the speakerphone, and after my outburst, there was a brief silence on the other end. However, it was soon pierced by my father's furious voice. I couldn't even comprehend what he said before I abruptly ended the call. After hanging up, I recounted the situation to a few colleagues. They urged me not to return, assuring me they would handle the contract issues. They also took the liberty of notifying the authorities. Upon my arrival at the hotel, I received a video from my colleagues. It depicted my parents, uncle, and aunt attempting to force their way into the apartment I had rented, carrying Lin Xiangbei with them. However, my colleagues intervened, and the police arrived shortly thereafter. As they were neither the property owners nor in possession of any contract, they were barred from entry. "Officer, I am the mother of the leaseholder. Surely, I can return to my own home?" implored my mother. "Indeed, I am the father of the leaseholder. This house, being my son's, is also ours. Why should we be denied entry?" My uncle and aunt nodded in agreement. My colleagues, however, responded with a sardonic smile. "We have already secured this property and signed a contract. Should you wish to breach it, you are welcome to do so. However, the penalty stands at tenfold of the annual rent, 600,000. You must provide the funds, and we will vacate immediately." The apartment I procured is situated in a prime location, costing 5,000 per month, totaling 60,000 annually. Thus, the tenfold penalty amounts to 600,000. What? Are you extorting us? Officer, we implore you to advocate on our behalf. Unfortunately for them, my colleagues, holding the contract, were in the right. After a stern admonishment from the police, they were left with no choice but to depart in disgrace. Watching the video sent by my colleagues, I felt an overwhelming chill. I had presumed my parents were merely foolish and concerned about appearances. Yet, despite my explicit refusal, they still brought Lin Xiangbei to my home, showing no regard for my feelings. Truly, these are my beloved parents. Before long, my phone buzzed incessantly with a flurry of messages. "Xiangnan, where are you? We are downstairs at your residence, unfamiliar with the area and lacking a place to stay. It's certainly too late to rent a place now. Could you book us a few rooms?" I recognized Lin Xiangbei's voice on the other end. "Cousin, just book 2 rooms. My parents can share one. And your parents can stay with me, as they need to look after me." Yes, just 2 rooms then. "Xiangnan, please reserve 2 rooms for us." I let out a cold laugh and switched my phone to airplane mode. Only then did I begin to reply to their messages. "Oh dear. I'm still busy and have no time. You are, after all, the uncles and aunts. It is only fair that you cover the hotel expenses for Xiangbei to stay temporarily, isn't it? All right, I must attend to something else now." With that, I muted my phone and quietly drifted off to sleep. Upon awakening the next day, I was inundated with over 300 messages on WeChat. Messages from my uncle and aunt, Lin Xiangbei, and my parents. TSK. I swiftly cleared the notifications and requested annual leave from work. Everyone at the company was aware of my troubling circumstances, and my supervisor promptly approved my leave, even sending me a keep it up emoji, suggesting I prioritize resolving my family matters before returning to the office. I tucked away my gratitude and ordered a cup of coffee for each of my colleagues on Matewan before finally reviewing the message my mother had sent. Yesterday, my mother was unable to reach me and scolded me for quite some time. Ultimately, she and my uncle and aunt, along with Lin Xiangbei, decided to go to a 5-star hotel. Why a 5-star establishment, you may ask? It is simply because Lin Xiangbei refuses to stay anywhere beneath that standard. In the streets, he wailed and lamented, declaring his desire to harm my uncle and aunt. Lin Xiangbei expressed that his entire life had been ruined, attributing the blame solely to my uncle and aunt. Had they not delayed in taking him to the hospital, his leg might have been salvaged. I was left speechless. However, what astonished me even more was that early this morning, my uncle and aunt abandoned Lin Xiangbei and fled. They ran back to the countryside. In their own words, they lamented, "Dear brother and sister-in-law, look at how much Lin Xiangbei despises us now. We dare not linger any longer. The chickens and ducks at home still require feeding. We simply cannot remain here. You are more than capable, and Lin Xiangbei has always been like your son. We shall entrust him to your care. Please look after him well. By the way, it would be best if he stays in the city and rents an apartment, for that would make his hospital follow-ups more convenient." Upon reading their message, I couldn't help but chuckle. Another message from my mother arrived. "Xiangnan, where on earth are you? What shall we do? Please provide us with some advice." As a dutiful son, I naturally responded, "Mother, I fell asleep yesterday and missed the messages. How are you all doing now?" "Oh, uncle and aunt have returned? That's all right. You're still there, aren't you? Why not rent a room for Xiangbei and take good care of him?" "What? You're not his parents. Yet you're indeed his uncle and aunt. And you taught me in my childhood to cherish my younger brother. I have been doing so well. As his uncle and aunt, you wouldn't want to abandon him, would you? That simply cannot be. It is your duty to nurture your younger kin." I eloquently expressed my thoughts, sending them a lengthy voice message lasting 60 seconds. I returned all the admonitions my parents had imparted to me over the years. In conclusion, I said, "It's all right, you can do it. Go ahead and rent a place, or else you will face criticism upon your return. I have already taken a leave from work. I am heading out of town to visit my girlfriend. I will reach out to you when I return." With that, I silenced my phone once more. From that moment on, regardless of the messages or voice notes they sent, I refrained from responding. After spending 10 days away, I could no longer resist the urge to visit the apartment my parents had rented for Lin Xiangbei. My parents, accustomed to a life of frugality, have always been reluctant to spend money on renting a property in a bustling area. Instead, they opted for a small room in an urban village. The space is so limited that it can barely accommodate a bed, leaving no room for even a tea table or a sofa. Moreover, the bathroom is directly adjacent to the corridor, resulting in poor ventilation and a lack of sunlight. Within just over 10 days, I could visibly see my parents' spirits dwindling. Lin Xiangbei's temper had also grown increasingly volatile. Upon my arrival, I was greeted by the sight of my mother, her face pale, being ordered by Lin Xiangbei to fetch a basin for him. Lin and Appo's leg injuries had yet to heal. Unlike in his previous life, when he at least had one leg to move about, now he was entirely incapacitated, forced to relieve himself in bed. My father, weary of Lin Xiangbei's unpredictable moods over the past days, chose to ignore his call of nature and discreetly stepped outside. My mother, with no other option, took the basin to him. Yet, in a fit of spite, Lin Xiangbei managed to urinate everywhere as she approached, not only soaking the bed, but also splattering my mother herself. As I entered, I witnessed the distressing moment when my mother, overwhelmed, hurled the urine basin to the ground. "Xiangnan, you've finally arrived, my son. Please save your mother." My father emerged from the bathroom. "Xiangnan, you're here? Oh, why are you alone?" My mother Regaining her composure, inquired, "Yes, where's your girlfriend? What are you seeking her for?" I leaned against the door, observing the disheveled pair. They exchanged glances. "Well, it's about Xiangnan, you know. There are numerous matters at home, and we simply cannot dedicate ourselves to caring for Xiangbei for an extended period. The responsibility of looking after Xiangbei undoubtedly falls upon you. Indeed, as a grown man, you would surely struggle. It must be your girlfriend who takes on this role." As I watched the two of them, endlessly rambling yet obstinately unrepentant, the final vestiges of my sympathy evaporated. "Yes, cousin, I think I shall stay with you. The conditions here are far from ideal. It's not only dark and damp, but the soundproofing leaves much to be desired, and your father snores. I would fare better with you and your girlfriend tending to me. It would expedite my recovery." I gazed at the shameless Lin Xiangbei, then at my parents. And memories of my previous life flooded my mind. In that life, it was my girlfriend who assumed these responsibilities. After I reluctantly brought Lin Xiangbei back, I initially took a leave of absence. However, as the demands of my job increased, upon my return, the care for Lin Xiangbei fell to my girlfriend. What was the outcome? Lin Xiangbei, having lost a leg, developed a capricious temperament, persistently creating difficulties for my girlfriend. The incident earlier, where he carelessly spilled his urine everywhere, had also occurred in my past life. At first, I was oblivious, but upon discovering the truth, I wished to have them take Lin Xiangbei back. Yet, one after another, they all blamed me, claiming it was my fault for having signed the consent form for the surgery. This ultimately resulted in Lin Xiangbei losing a leg. Had I not acquiesced at that moment, perhaps conservative treatment could have preserved his limb. They claimed that since Lin Xiangbei became disabled because of me, I bore the responsibility of caring for him. My girlfriend, aware of my helplessness, chose to endure the situation. But in the end, Lin Xiangbei, psychologically warped, chose to take my life on the day of my wedding, along with that of my girlfriend. I gazed at my parents, my face flushed with emotion, and suddenly burst into laughter. "I see you are taking good care of him, so please continue." With that, I turned and departed from that place. My parents chased after me, attempting to stop me, but they were unable to catch up. After I went to work, my parents sought out once more. They arrived in tears, clamoring to entrust Lin Xiangbei to me. However, Lin Xiangbei's own parents were still alive, and their uproar held no legitimacy. Subsequently, they made another attempt, only to be forcibly ejected by the security personnel of the company. I had completely lost faith in them and unceremoniously blocked and deleted all means of communication. A month later, I received a call from a relative back home. He informed me that my parents, unable to endure Lin Xiangbei's foul temper, had finally returned to our hometown. They had cared for Lin Xiangbei for a month and a half. Upon their return, a fierce argument erupted with my uncle and aunt. They berated my parents for abandoning their son and returning home. My parents, equally incensed, accused my uncle and aunt of treating them like fools. "You neglect your own child and expect us to take him in? Have you no shame? You are supposed to be responsible parents. How can you expect us to bear your burdens?" My parents finally shed the facade of the amiable individuals they had maintained for decades, leading to a fierce confrontation that nearly severed their familial ties. Ultimately, my uncle and aunt, left with no other recourse, ventured back to the city. However, only a few days after their return, when my uncle and aunt arrived, Lin Xiangbei had been left unattended and had spoiled. As they entered the house, they were nearly overwhelmed by the noxious odor that permeated the air. After they arrived in the city, they called me numerous times, subtly implying that I should visit Lin Xiangbei and offer him some guidance. As a good cousin, I purchased some marinated delicacies and a few bottles of beer, and made my way to their rented accommodation in the urban village. Upon entering, I was nearly overwhelmed by an unpleasant odor, yet I managed to endure it. Lin Xiangbei had been confined to the house daily, unable to step outside. In a previous life after his amputation, I had spent several thousand yuan on a wheelchair to encourage him to venture out and change his surroundings. However, his parents could not bear to spend that money now, leaving him to languish in bed. His basic needs were met within the confines of the room, which lacked proper ventilation. Moreover, my uncle and aunt were not as attentive in their care as my parents would have been, resulting in an unbearable stench. Upon seeing the marinated food and beer I had brought, his eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. He abruptly hurled a cup from the bedside table at his parents, exclaiming, "Have you both perished? Can't you even move the table and chairs over?" My uncle and aunt, seemingly accustomed to Lin Xiangbei's demanding demeanor, sighed and obediently rearranged the furniture. After we had consumed half of the drinks, I casually remarked, "You truly are down on your luck." He sighed and set down his cup, lamenting, "If only I hadn't kicked the anesthetist that day. At the very least, I could have preserved one of my legs." I shook my head, replying, "It was indeed unfortunate for you. Had my uncle and aunt arrived sooner, perhaps you could have saved both legs." How unlike the present. What do you plan to do with your days ahead? Are you really going to spend your entire life cooped up in this rented room? Alas, how pitiful. I lamented a few words, followed by some piercing remarks. As Lin Xiangbei's gaze grew increasingly ferocious, even casting a predatory glare at his parents, I finally set down my cup and took my leave. Clatter. Are you seeking death? Hurry up and bring the wine. I scoffed, shaking my head as I departed from the rental. 3 days later, I received a call from the police, asking me to identify a body. It turned out that Lin Xiangbei had acted while my uncle and aunt were asleep. My uncle died on the spot, while my aunt, though she survived, became a vegetable due to a severe head injury. My parents rushed from the countryside, their eyes filled with trepidation as they looked at me. They expressed relief that they had returned home early. Had my uncle and aunt been there, one would have perished while the other was gravely injured. After speaking, they intended to leave immediately. "Wait a moment," I called out to them. "My uncle's body has yet to be cremated. As his brother, you must take care of the aftermath," I said to my father. Though his face was grim, being his own brother, he could only nod in resignation. I then turned to my mother. "Oh, mother, have you forgotten that my aunt is still in the hospital?" Her expression shifted dramatically. I led them towards the hospital, saying, "You truly are something. Your aunt is the closest person to you, and do you really wish to abandon her? This would be the talk of the town." My mother was quite resistant. "Well, Xiangnan, your aunt, she still has her family, doesn't she?" I scoffed. "A married daughter is like water that has been poured out." "Mother, your aunt is now one of the Lin family. It is imperative that you and father take care of her. You're her closest kin, are you not? You have always taught me to." I recounted the times when my parents had urged me to care for Lin Xiangbei. I then called relatives back home, and everyone supported the notion of them caring for my aunt. My parents, valuing their reputation, had no choice but to acquiesce and bring her back. Half a year later, I received news that Lin Xiangbei had been sentenced to death. Upon hearing that my girlfriend was pregnant, my mother expressed her desire to come and assist with the child. I swiftly declined. "Mother, you still need to care for aunt. How could she manage without you?" I reassured her, "My girlfriend is quite capable, should we find ourselves overwhelmed. I shall hire a nanny, so worry not." On the other end of the line, my mother was fuming with frustration. Without hesitation, I ended the call. "Darling, come and watch television with me." My girlfriend's voice echoed from the living room. I'm coming. The weather outside is splendid. Today, it is yet another day of brilliant sunshine." End.